Today we are going to talk about 2019 recruiting as well as some injury updates that I know a lot of folks want to know about OU versus West Virginia, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today we are going to talk about OU versus West Virginia in relation to what the personnel groupings might look like and some recruiting news. So let's get started with OU versus West Virginia. And we know that Dana Holgorsen and Tony Gibson are probably going to take this one pretty hard, not just because if they beat Oklahoma, they get into the Big 12 title game, but because they remember getting flat pantsed at Owen Field last year, scoring 45 in the first half, 59 total. Tony Gibson thought it was a horrendous showing by his defense. Dana Holgorsen didn't take it that hard, but I have folks that tell me that his press conference was kind of interesting and that Dana Holgorsen spent about 12 minutes just talking about Oklahoma, going through the offense and the defense and just what Oklahoma does and how they do it and what Kyler Murray can do. And everybody knows what Kyler Murray can do. And that has been the saving grace for not just OU's defense, but the offense, really, because there have been some play calls and there have been some plays that have been busted or broken or just flat out got covered that Kyler Murray was able to do his Houdini thing and turn them into positive games and in sometimes big gainers. Now, one of the things that has been helpful to Kyler Murray, especially in the beginning of the season, but not so much lately, has been the run game. And that was always going to be any quarterback's best friend. But the run game, when it was fully healthy, I'm talking about when it was Rodney Anderson, Trey Sermon, Marcellus Sutton, T.J. Pledger, and Kennedy Brooks, you had a bevy of backs that you could run behind this award finalist offensive line. Offensive line is up for the Joe Moore Award. And it's awesome offensive line coach, Bill Bedenbaugh, where you could just wreck shop. And they are. They're averaging better than 6 yards per carry over the last 5 games. And a lot of that is Kyler Murray, and I get that, what people are going to say. But having a healthy Trey Sermon, having a Kennedy Brooks, having a T.J. Pledger is helpful to you because, as we have found out this season, as if we didn't already know, you can never have enough running backs. Rodney Anderson got hurt, his season was over. Marcellus Sutton broke his leg, his season's over. Then Trey Sermon tweaked his ankle, seemed like he was okay. T.J. Pledger had an undisclosed injury that kept him out of games. And at one point, it felt like Kennedy Brooks was the only healthy scholarship running back Oklahoma had against Kansas, and that turned out okay because he's been able to take care of himself. But let's think about if that wasn't true, what it would look like. It'd be bad. But it would also be Jeremiah Hall getting the bulk of the carries, and he's a fullback, and he's not a running back. Now, I think that running back is one of the most overvalued positions in all of football at any level, and I think that you have an easier chance of inserting a guy back there to play a running back than opposed to offensive line or quarterback or even wide receiver. It's just easier to be a running back than it is to be almost any other position on the football field. That said, you want your running back to be a running back, and you would like it to be a healthy Trey Sermon, who sat out the rest of the game after tweaking his ankle. Now, I have sources, Brandon Drum has sources, OU Insider has reported, look, it feels like he could go, right? Like he's getting there, like it's a tweak, like it's not something that is going to ruin him against West Virginia or even against the Big 12 title game. So I'm going to lean with a 50-50 on that and say that he could be ready to go against Morgantown, but the short week, as Lincoln Riley said in the Monday presser, doesn't really help things. And the other running back that you would hope to get back would be T.J. Pledger. It sounded like he could have played against Kansas, just didn't, and he was suited up to play, right? Unlike some of these guys that were in street clothes. So perhaps you get all 3 running backs in a best case scenario against West Virginia. Worst case scenario, you're going to have Kennedy Brooks and Jeremiah Hall splitting carries and Kyler Murray doing a lot of the work back there, because I understand at this point they'd be stupid not to give Jeremiah Hall more carries and just not say anything about it. So he's familiar with run lanes and run scheme and what he's supposed to do at the running back position, but he's still your 6th best running back if all your running backs were healthy this season. And that's not necessarily the guy that you want to give the ball to, not your 6th string guy. Also, Marquis Brown played against Kansas, and he looked okay. I don't know about 100%, but he looked okay. And even at 80%, he's faster than most anybody else out there not named Kyler Murray. Matter of fact, I would like to see that race between him, Kyler Murray, and Trey Brown, just see who's fastest. I don't think we're going to see it, but it'd be fun to watch. So you get your wide receivers back, and you're going to need them against an explosive West Virginia team that can put up points and has what I think is the third best quarterback in all of college football in Will Grier. Now, in regard to some of the true freshmen I know folks have been asking about, I think Ron Tatum just isn't there yet, right? We haven't really seen that guy play snaps, right? We were wanting to see Levi Draper play snaps, and we've been wanting to see Jaquaylin Crawford. We got to see a little bit of him against Kansas, I believe. And we got to see a little bit of him this season. But those guys feel like they could be pretty good when you get ready to prep for your bowl, no matter what it is. And that scout team and those reps are very important for the redshirt guys and for the true freshmen. Now let's talk about recruiting. Now, I think this is where things really get interesting, in particular because a lot of the guys that Oklahoma has eyes on, at least at present, are in California. And 3 of those guys go to Mater Dei. Now, Darion Green-Warren, he's committed. He's been committed since July. He's a 2020 cornerback. He's very excited about getting to OU, and he's a natural ball hawk. Like, watches a lot of film so he can just jump routes. But his teammate, Jeremiah Criddell, a safety, a DB, he can play corner, he can play safety, is committed to Oregon, but he was at Oklahoma for the Bedlam game. And I thought it was interesting, the thing that he took away from it was his fan experience, right? He understood what football means to Sooners fans like you, like me, folks that dig on OU football, and how selling out these crowds for 123 straight games is just what we do. We are here for football. We are here for fall Saturdays in Norman. And that was a trait that was able to get across to Jeremiah Criddell. And I think that's a really big deal, and I think that's kind of understated. In addition to all the things that you get to do on an official visit and the way that Annie Hansen and her staff wine and dine not just the recruit, but their parents, and understand everybody has optics, everybody has an angle, everybody wants to know that they are covered, and they do a pretty good job there. Now, Brandon Jones has an interesting note about Jeremiah Criddell and what happened when he went to Oregon, what happened when he went on his official visit. But I should say that he took his official visit to Oregon. He had a really good time. He's still committed there. Signing day is December 19th, and I'm not really going to predict a flip here because flip commitments really aren't the kind of thing that you should be predicting because it's just bad karma and it's bad juju. But you know, it wouldn't be surprising. However, if you're going to ask me my crystal ball prediction, I think it's Oregon. I think he really likes what he's been told up there. I think Mario Cristobal is building a winner, and I think for a guy who's from SoCal to go to Oregon is a natural fit. That said, his other teammate, Elias Ricks, is a 2020 safety. Man, those defensive backs back there are just loaded. Oklahoma is still on his lips. And I think a lot of that has to do with how close Darion Green-Warren and Elias Ricks are. They're very close. They go to a lot of things together. They are in the same class. And I'm sure that DGW would love to play ball at Oklahoma with his high school teammate. I'm just not ready to say that Oklahoma is a real contender for his services. But the fact that he wants to get out to Oklahoma and that he wants to check it out means perhaps this is a guy that you can get to come to the spring game and maybe change his mind a little bit, especially if the defensive coordinator situation is different when the time he gets here. Not saying it is, but it could be, right? We also know that Oklahoma is still looking for another running back to join this class. And I don't know that that's a thing that's a high priority right now because you can go get a running back. There's a JUCO running back that I'm going to point you to OUinsider.com to go look for. We also know there are a few guys that have just removed themselves from contention. John Emery is at LSU. Kenny McIntosh committed to Georgia. Noah Kane, we'll still see. But we're going to get another running back in this class. Just don't know if it's going to be JUCO or high school to go along with Marcus Major. So the thing that is interesting to me as I go down this list of OU committed recruits, especially in the wake of Tremont Moore being kicked off the team, and Jacoby Jones' decommitment as one of the top defensive end recruits out of Butler Community College, is you got defensive ends. Marcus Hicks is going to be pretty good. Corey Roberson is going to be pretty good. Joseph Wette is going to be pretty good. What you only have one of is a defensive tackle. That's Derek Green, right? Who is out of North Carolina, 3-star kid. I had him on the Woosaw podcast. I enjoyed talking to him. I think he's going to be pretty good when he gets here. But the thing that I have noticed most about teams that are able to compete against the spread, teams that are able to compete against high-powered offenses like the one Oklahoma has, like the one Clemson has, like the one Alabama has, are teams with big, enormous lockdown cornerbacks and big, enormous 0, 1, and 3 techniques, okay? You have to have a guy for which you can just throw out there at corner and say, we're going to play man on that side, and he's going to lock it up. He's going to take away your best wide receiver so that we can do all the other things that we need to do to help out the rest of the defense. And you also have to have a guy in the middle who we keep saying commands double teams, but it's just true, right? And Oklahoma has not really done a good job of recruiting defensive tackles. Now, Oklahoma's Ed Oliver's first offer, and we missed on him to Houston. And that guy could be a number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Think about that for a second. And then think about the last defensive player that went into the NFL draft in the first round from Oklahoma. It'd be 2009. It's nearly 10 years ago. It's Gerald Mccoy. You don't have Gerald McCoys and Tommy Harris's walking through Oklahoma right now, and that's a problem. We thought Neville Gallimore was going to be that guy, but with his recent injury, he's had flashes. That's the thing. You see flashes from all of those guys. Kenneth Mann has come on. Amani Bledsoe has come on. Neville Gallimore has come on. But none of them have been the one guy that you can depend on to just cave in offensive lines, and there's reason for that. Defensive tackles are the hardest commodity to go get in college football. They're harder to get than quarterbacks. They're harder to get than running backs for sure. They're harder to get than tackles, left tackles, offensive tackles. They're just the guys that make your defense into something that is awesome. And what Brent Venables has done is build his defense around defensive linemen and corners. Mckenzie Alexander was an outstanding corner at Clemson. He's still starting for the Vikings right now. They have 4 guys rotating in on the defensive line at Clemson who are going to get drafted this year. That is the source of their power. And that's what you're going to need at Oklahoma. And I don't think it's that they're not trying. It's just that they're not getting, right? You have to go out there and win the battle in the living room so that you can get that talent onto your campus, develop him into a juggernaut. And that is going to be one of the things that turns the tide for Oklahoma defensively. You're going to get an outstanding defensive tackle. You got to get an outstanding corner. Buki, perhaps, is what we thought, and then they moved him to safety. So we'll see how that all ends up, and we'll see how that all goes, and we'll see what they build toward in the defense in 2019 if there's a new defensive coordinator and a new scheme. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.